And I am very pleased to be here with John McCain and Paul Ryan to announce our reintroduction of the Line Item Veto Bill. Obviously, I've worked with John on many issues, best known on campaign finance reform, but John's always been my leader on this issue of the Line Item Veto. When I came to the United States Senate, I already, even as a Democrat, had said I believe the President should have some form of a line item veto. I don't support every form of it, but I believe it's a very important reform. And John McCain's the guy who got the bill through the Congress, got it all the way to the President, and got it to the United States Supreme Court. And unfortunately, the court struck down that version of it. But he has been the leader on the Congress on this issue, and obviously it's an enormous help to us that he wants to take such an important role in trying to get this done. Now, Paul Ryan and I have known each other for a long time. We both grew up in Janesville, Wisconsin, and we both see fiscal matters very similarly when it comes to things like earmarks, although we don't agree on everything. And one of the real pleasures is that as we talked about this, we were able to come up in the last Congress with an agreement on an approach to this issue that we could propose on a bipartisan basis and hope that we could actually get enacted and that would actually pass constitutional muster. Now, we're both from Janesville, Wisconsin. Our fathers worked in the same building and we're friends. So, John, the only thing we ask is that this be known as the Janesville Line Item Veto if it becomes the law of the land. This bill is about the need to stop wasteful earmarks, especially in this time of economic crisis. And if Congress won't restrain itself, the President should be able to try. Now, we're hearing all the arguments. Oh, this doesn't involve so much money. Where I'm from, the amount of money that's involved in these many earmarks, which is illustrated right here, is real money. The other thing I'm hearing more and more, frankly, especially from my Democratic colleagues, is, these earmarks are the reason we are sent here. This is what we're supposed to do. Well, this crowd works pretty hard, and we don't do them. And we don't think that's the core of the job of a senator or a congressman. In fact, I don't know what you guys are hearing, but the amount of passion I'm hearing in support of earmarks is something I would think would be reserved for getting Osama bin Laden or the genocide in Darfur. And there's almost a teary-eyed defense, which is a further sign to me that there's something rotten here, that it's out of control, and that they're feeling the pressure. Now, I think we've made progress on this issue. The fact is, in the last Congress, we made sure that the earmarks had to be identified by people, so it's out in the open. And the fact is that under the stimulus bill, according to the definition that we use in this legislation, there were no earmarks. And so that is something I'd like to see done on the omnibus bill as well. This bill that we're proposing today allows the President to propose some earmarks to be rescinded and sent back to Congress to be voted on separately. Now, the critical thing is, on our legislation, they can't just put the bill that the President has proposed in committee. There is a requirement that it has to be voted on and within a set time frame. The Senate and the House can choose to fund the earmark package, or better yet, they can just rescind the funding as per the President's proposal. If either House votes against rescinding by a simple majority, the projects are funded. So the reason we think this will be constitutional is that Congress has to basically pass these cuts to the earmarks in both houses, and the President has to sign it. That gets at the problem that the Supreme Court had with the other bill. So you can argue that this is really an expedited rescission bill, but because the public understands this as a form of a line item veto, we prefer to refer to it that way. If the bill were the law of the land, our President Obama, wouldn't have to choose between signing or vetoing this omnibus bill. He could clean it up. He could clean up these things, and we wouldn't be in the sort of Hobson's choice position of saying either or. That would be a great contribution to the process. Consideration of the omnibus and the upcoming focus on the budget being involved, this bill couldn't be timelier. I've heard John talking on the floor about the fact there's some 8,500 or 9,000 earmarks in this huge piece of legislation. And each page doesn't represent just one earmark. It often involves a bunch of earmarks. So that's truly incredible. One estimate I've seen suggests that this involves some $7 billion for these earmarks alone. Again, that's real money. So members of Congress like to talk the talk on earmarks and fiscal discipline. It's time to walk the walk. We have a president whose press secretary said he'd like to take something like this for a test drive. I'd like to give him that opportunity.
We want to get around a Supreme Court decision that ruled the last line item veto unconstitutional. We have consulted a broad array of constitutional authority, people who are authorities on the Constitution, who tell us that this is indeed, even though it's not exactly a line item veto, it's a rescission bill that is constitutional. So, is it going to be hard to get this passed? Yes. But I believe that the American people voted for change last November. They want not only change in the executive branch, but they want to change in the legislative branch in the way that we do
Earmarking. Not all earmarks are corrupt, of course. But when you have a system that's out of control, when you have members of Congress in jail because of influence peddling, selling earmarks, there's something wrong with this system. And so we believe this brings a tool of sunshine, a tool of accountability, and some just plain old common sense back to the way we spend taxpayer dollars. This should not be a Republican or a Democrat issue. This should be a good government issue.